In this video, I create a custom Funko Pop of Real Madrid and England footballer Jude Bellingham. It's summertime, and that means international football finals. So, who will win the 2024 Euros? At the time of editing this video, Jude Bellingham has just saved England from an early exit, scoring with an amazing last-second overhead kick against the tough Slovakian side. So, will he be the player of the tournament, and will I be able to create a custom Funko Pop of one of the best players in the world? Let's get started. Firstly, I need to find a figure with the closest hairstyle to Jude's. For that, I found this Finn from Star Wars figure. There is a little problem though. It's a bobblehead figure, and I will be attaching it to a non-bobblehead body. Oh well. We'll figure that out later, I hope. So, for the body, I'm going with this Lucas Torreira pop, but before I do anything else, I'm going to need to remove the head. To do this, I just pop the pop in a pot of hot water for a few minutes. Then the head will pop right off. Eventually. Nice. Okay. It's time to see if I can work out how I will attach the head to this body. So I got out my craft knife and started cutting the neck to make it small enough to screw into the spring. Oh wow, it actually worked! Yay! I really was not sure that that was going to work at all. With that all sorted out, I got on with masking off the football with some blue tack. Next, it is time to prime. I am using Vallejo Mecha Grey Primer, but my airbrush was giving me real trouble. It should be spraying nice and evenly, but you can see some splattering here and there. To sort this out, I spent a long time cleaning my airbrush and tried again a bit later. As you can see, the paint was still not coming out properly, but it worked enough to get it finished. Next job was to sculpt the collar. I used a 2-part putty called Milliput. You just need to mix 2 equal parts together and you will have some nice air-dry putty. I really like the collar on the New England shirt, but it was a bit hard to make it exact as I am not the best at sculpting, but I gave it my all. I rolled out a small piece of putty and I used the handle of a blending tool to flatten it out. Then I used a craft knife to cut off any excess putty and a cocktail stick to tidy up the inside area. As I had a bit of putty left, I decided to make a miniature Henry Delaunay cup. Well, I tried. Moving on. Next, I got on with spraying the head. I used Vallejo Game Colour in Beastie Brown. And my airbrush was still not spraying properly, so this took absolutely ages. As I wanted to recreate Jude's hairstyle properly, I also sprayed the hair around the edges in the same colour. And because I forgot to sculpt the collar before I primed everything, I had to prime the figure again. Dope! After priming everything again, I masked off the legs, arms and neck with some blue tack. Then I sprayed the figure in Vallejo Mecha Pure White. Once that had dried, I masked off everything except the shorts. I also masked a small stripe around the bottom of the shorts. I sprayed the shorts with Game Colour in Night Blue. This paint is weirdly shiny, and although it airbrushed nicely, it was hard to work with when hand painting. While I waited for that to dry, I masked off the face and airbrushed the hair. The bit in yellow masking tape is the area where I attempt to create the fade effect in the hair, So I removed that bit first, and because my airbrush is still barely spraying, I was able to spray very sparsely over that area. There was still quite a noticeable hairline, so I used a brush that I had ruined to dry brush the line away. Pulling masking tape off is very satisfying, but also kind of scary. You never know if the paint has seeped through underneath, which you can see here that yes it has. But no worries, nothing a little bit of paint can't solve. With that sorted out, I painted the rest of the skin. If you get some patchy areas when painting, do not worry. Just let it dry and apply another coat. Next, I painted the collar. I used the same night blue as the shorts. This needs a few coats as it goes on quite light at first. Now I needed to paint on a goatee, but there was no way I would be able to do this freehand without messing up, so I made a little stencil with masking tape and used my previously ruined brush to dry brush on the paint. It didn't look quite right, so I did end up adding some detail freehand. Painting freehand details is super hard for me as I do not have a steady hand, but I was pretty happy with the result. One of my favourite things to do is painting the boots. Jude wears these really cool Adidas Predators Elite. I'm just using the standard blue from the Vallejo Model Air range for this. These boots have fluorescent orangey red soles and tongues, but it was really hard to find the exact shade of paint, so I went with this Mecha fluorescent orange. It didn't seem to go on very well until I put it on thick without any water on my brush. I really love how it looks against the blue though. Props to the designer at Adidas for going with those colours. When everything was dry, I airbrushed over a few coats of satin varnish. This makes everything look so nice and smooth, and helps prevent the paintwork from getting ruined when applying decals. Also, somehow my airbrush seemed to be working properly again. Next, I made the decals. I could not find a suitable font for the number 10 decal, so I had to add the 3D aspects myself. I used the pen tool in Affinity Designer to do this. I print the decals out on water slide decal paper. Any decal going on the white areas I use clear, and for any going on dark backgrounds I use the white decal paper. As you can see, some of these decals are very tiny. Here I am applying the decals. To get them to stay on, I use Microscale Industries Microset. There are a lot of stripes on this England kit. The navy blue on the side of the shirt was very awkward to apply. Like, seriously, this took me about an hour to do. After that had dried, I applied the sleeve decals. When applying decals, you can move them around a bit to get them exactly where you want. The same sleeve stripe design appears on the shorts and socks. So I added the striped decals to the shorts and then moved on to the patches on the sleeves. The Euros 24 logo looks really colourful, but the UEFA Children's Foundation patch is quite pale. I probably should have made it a little more vibrant, but it's too late now. Anyway, I got over that by doing the back of the shirt decals, which is one of my favourite parts to do as the figure really starts to look how it's supposed to. There was a couple of decals to apply to the shorts. And then I had to attempt getting those stripes to go around the socks nicely, which thankfully they did. Getting those Nike swooshes on wasn't quite as easy though. They are super tiny and super annoying. Lastly, I applied the boot decals. Seriously, this whole video is literally just me trying to get decals in the right place. Just as I thought I was finished with the decals, I remembered I still had the eyes and eyebrows to apply. I do not trust my hand to paint these on. I have done it before and it's too stressful. Wait, I just realised something. The football. No! Well, actually, I was pretty happy to make decals for the match ball, but to do that I needed some reference photos. After looking at the photos online of the match ball, I decided I needed to see this ball in person so that I could work out the pattern. So here it is. Well, this is the mini version, as I do not have space for the full-size one. This ball design is super cool. It has a graphic of each stadium, which is such a nice touch. And now that I have a hold of it, I can finally work out the pattern. So, I spent an inordinate amount of time creating decals for the ball. And guess what? All the detail will probably, definitely, be lost when I print them out to fit the figure. But it's okay, because this is basically how I'm learning how to use graphic design software. The 3 different coloured triangles on the ball create a circle, so I made the decals to fit a circle and applied them to the football. I finished adding the rest of the decals, including the Euros logo, but for some reason that would not stay on, so I'm just going to imagine that it is there on the part we can't see. With everything finally finished, I sprayed over the decals with the satin varnish. This takes the shine off them, which is actually a good thing. Right then, I need to get the head back on. Should be simples. It wasn't. I couldn't get it quite in the right place at first, but eventually I got it sorted. Now the figure is finished, I need to make a box. I designed the box in Affinity Designer from a basic template I found online. I'm using this nice 160 GSM extra white card to print the designs onto. I laminate the sheets so that the box will be sturdy and waterproof. And then I carefully cut out each box part. For the box window, I use a craft knife, but for the figure part, I use small scissors, as it's easier to get the rounded shape I need. Then, using a bone folder, I create some nice sharp folds. The plastic window I repurpose from an old box, and I stick everything together with some good old double-sided sellotape. I used the bubble from another football pop box, and with that, the figure was finally complete. Oh, I almost forgot the cup. I hadn't finished it. Well, I primed it with some gloss black primer, as this is the best for painting metallics on top of. And then I painted on some Vallejo metal colour in chrome. This is my favourite silver paint. It's great to just pile it on and have it dry out so nice and even. It's just a shame the cup looks like it has been squashed after the winning team dropped it off the open top bus or something. Before we take a look at the final result, I just want to say a huge thank you to all my subscribers and to everyone who has watched my videos. Thank you so much. Now, here's the final result.